Welcome to our second edition of the online teaching webinar, which is we are going to mainly talk about different tools and techniques that you can use for online teaching in your virtual classrooms, right? And yeah, before we begin, we are going to do a few quick preliminary checks. This is something that we advise you also do during your online classes so that you set expectations what is supposed to be happening during the class and make sure that there is a seamless experience for all your children. So first of all, what you have to keep in mind is make sure you have a solid, active, stable internet connection. If not, please keep your hotspot or your phone's hotspot or a different internet device that would help you to keep it as a backup, right? So I have a solid internet connection and I have my phone as well with me. Let us know who you are and we'll rename you. I think we did this exercise in the beginning where I renamed most of you whose names weren't appearing, right? If not, I just mentioned how you can rename yourselves. There is a participants icon that is there on the meeting controls. You just click on this on that and you will see a list of all the participants. Next to your name, there will be something called more. Once you click on that, you will find a rename option from where you can rename yourselves. I hope everybody can hear me. This is an audio video check that we usually do. If you're comfortable with having your videos on, please make sure that you have your videos on. It will give a much better interactive experience for both the parties. Check chat messaging. I will be sending a few chat messages in between to make sure that to just check a few things with you. I think I have checked chat with with multiple of you. If you could just quickly. If you could quickly send in your names on the chat box, it would really help me to know who I'm talking to. That would also help me to check your names. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Jyoti, Shakita, Soumya, Sharda. Okay. All right. Okay. Hello, Ms. Pushpa. Hello, Mr. Girish, Aradhita, Sonali, Sarika, Nazia, Sujata. Hello, Ms. Vaishnavi. Hello, Ms. Shalini and Mukta. All right. So I guess most of you have gotten your names right. There is someone who is. All right, so I think I've gotten enough responses. Thanks a lot. I'm sure everybody's chat is working now and everybody knows where the chat box is. Yeah. So starting off, if you have a doubt, please raise your hand and we will respond. Please make sure that you use the raise hand button that is there on the participants at the bottom of the screen. And during the class, this is mainly for our quiz events that we use. We will be taking a quick poll of feedback from you at the end to understand how we should plan our next webinar also. So yeah, looking forward to this session with all of you here. Please make sure that security features in Zoom have been activated as per the Ministry of Home Affairs. There's been a lot of apprehension with people using Zoom. We've made sure that all the security features that have been asked to maintain have been maintained by us. This is a quick check-in that we are going to do. There are a few people who have raised your hand. Mr. Ranap, is there something that you wanted to ask, or were you just checking out the feature? Okay. So a quick check-in. This is something that we usually do in our classes where we want to understand, get all the kids thinking, to get all of them to be involved in the class, just as an energizer, just as a starter. This is what we are going to do as a check-in for today. Hope you all have your mobile phones in your hand along with hope you all have your mobile phones along with you, along with the laptop that you're using for this presentation. If you do not, please open another browser on your screens, on your laptops or your devices. We are going to do this on a platform called menti.com. Please type in menti.com on your browser and type in this PIN 573299 on the website. My colleague Vaishnavi will also share the link which you can directly click and it will take you to the browser where this is happening. So once you've opened that, this is your question. One word that describes how you feel about the concept of online teaching. This is something that's new, that's happening to us. One of you has said it's doable, it's awesome, it's great. You feel great about being in online classrooms. You feel quite excited about it. You feel it is effective. That's nice. You feel that it's a good.
Ma'am, can you tell me enter the code number?
It's showing on top of the screen itself.
Yeah.
73.
The same one?
The code, yes. Very nice. There's a great learning. Very nice. Okay. It's a unique thing to do. It's a fabulous thing to do. I'd like to understand more about what you feel as a teacher being in an online classroom, what that makes you feel. It's an innovative way of thinking. Very, very nice. Exciting, challenging, yes. You get to explore new ways of learning. It builds your curiosity. It's enthusiastic. All right. The code is appearing on my screen, 573299, the screen that I've shared with you. On top, you can see the code also. You have to go to menti.com and click on and type in this number. All right, unlearning and then learn. That's a really nice insight that you've got there. You get to unlearn whatever traditional practices that we've had and try out new learning methods. All right, I'm going to wait for another couple of responses and then we'll move ahead with our session. You feel disconnected with the kids? Yes, because you don't see them in flesh as such. It is a unique way, yes. All right, so that was great. Blessed way to be with kids. Very nice. It's a nice to learn. It's a new method that we're using here. It's a bit overwhelming. Yes, this is something that most of us do feel at the beginning. Ms. Usha has her hand raised. Is there something that you wanted to ask, Ms. Usha? You get to brainstorm. It's exciting, it's good, it's great, it's awesome. There's new learning, it's challenging and informative information. There's a lot of, it's welcoming, okay. All right, so that's great to hear these different perspectives from you. Now let's move on and think about what our kids actually think about online teaching or online classes. Most of our kids are into online classes right now. And during one of our Kushala sessions, we just went ahead and asked the kids, how do they feel about these online classes, right? And this is what they had to tell us. There's too much screen time. Imagine kids saying this. They say that we get to look at the screen a lot. Our eyes get strained a lot. So is there a way that we can get enough breaks in between? Apparently they stay on screen from 8:30 in the morning when the school opens until 3:30 in the evening. And post that also they have certain assignments that they have to work on, for which they again have to use the screen, right? So too much screen time, they do not get enough breaks. Might be because if you're in class, obviously in the time that one teacher enters or gets out, you do have some time wherein you just get to relax, where you just get to stretch. We're going to talk a little bit about that, how we can make that possible. They miss learning with their own friends, right? So now with online teaching, the classes are more isolated to one child. Whatever learning they do is something that they do individually. There's no collaborative or teamwork that is really happening because they're not working with their friends. Even if we don't in classrooms, even if we don't really make them sit in groups and ask them to work in groups, it usually is a practice where kids ask each other for help, and each of them help each other out, right? So that is something that is missing in the online classes, is what these kids felt. And would like it if the classes are actually spaced out. So some of the kids came ahead and told, how about we just have online classes for 2 or 3 hours in a day? And then we would like to do some assignments which don't involve screen time, right? So, and also sitting in front of the screen for so long is something that they don't really prefer. And this is a very interesting comment that one of our kids said. They wanted more of asynchronous learning, right? So I didn't even know that kids actually knew what the term asynchronous learning means. We're going to talk a little bit about what asynchronous learning is and how it usually happens in the session that we're going to have today. Any other responses that you've gotten from your kids that you'd like to share? What do they feel about your online classes? Do let us know. In the meanwhile, a quick introduction of who we are and what we do and why we are doing this webinar for you. We are a company called Walnut Knowledge Solutions, and our flagship program is called QShala, which is a online, offline workshop that we run for children, where we use the curiosity, we pique the curiosity of children through questions, stories, activities, and a lot of discussions that happen during our classes. So in this way, we've reached out to about 80,000 plus children, and we've partnered with over 80 schools until now. We've designed and delivered 500 plus school curiosity events, which will include quizzes, other engagement events, apart from the QShala program that we usually run for them. And we've engaged over 2,000 students and parents online through our online programs and online workshops. And we are very proud to say that since we are building the curiosity, since we are asking kids to be more curious, we thought, why not we be curious also and try and explore something that, try and do something that nobody else would have done. So we went ahead and did a quiz in Antarctica, where nobody else except for the scientists, the people going on expeditions usually do. We went there, our colleague here went to Antarctica with a team of researchers and did a quiz for them over there, which was amazing. And we got a Limca book, we got our name in the Limca Book of Records, where it is said that we are the only company which has done a quiz in Antarctica, right? So with Antarctica, we thought, we've anyways done the toughest thing in the world, right? We've gone to Antarctica and we've done a quiz there. How about we go and explore the entire world? And that's how we became the only company which has done a quiz in all the 7 continents around the world. So that's basically about us. And why us? Because we've been engaging kids in the online platform for a while now. Over 6 to 7 months is what we've been doing. What we've been doing is majorly focusing on making a better online learning experience for the kids. And we've been quite successful with that. It can be seen by the overwhelming number of kids and parents who come to our family quizzes that are being organized every Sunday. Okay. So, yeah, so these are the kids and families that we've engaged over 6,500 plus families actively from not only from India, but from Japan, UAE, Norway, and US, right? And you can also be a part of the family quiz. We are organizing exclusive family quizzes for your school specifically. Please do get in touch with us. I will be sharing the office number with you at the end of this call. Do make sure that you reach out to us and understand what these family quizzes are and how we could do it for your schools, specifically for your school students, right? So starting off with today's session, these are some best practices that you can follow. First of all, learn to be comfortable, right? I saw that a lot of us felt it was overwhelming, it was a lot challenging, it was something really new for us to do. So the first thing that you would want to do is be comfortable with the entire change that's happening. I know it's difficult for us to directly move from a physical classroom onto a virtual space and still be able to connect with the kids as much as well. So be comfortable with the technology that you're using. If you're using an online platform like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Kahoot, or any other platform as such that you are using, make sure that you get really comfortable with every single thing of it, at least the parts of it which you usually on a frequent basis use on the platform, right? If you're using Zoom, make sure that you know where you can see all the participants, where you can chat with your kids, how you can share your screen, how you can get the kids to annotate on the screen, basic things like this. Make sure that you're really comfortable with the platform that you're using, maybe Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Google Classrooms, Google Meetings, or anything like that. Make sure you're first of all comfortable with the technology that you're using. If not, do spend some time to get comfortable, get your family, get your friends to run quick mock sessions with them so that you feel comfortable at facing the screen, right? The next thing is do a lot of research. I know that we are experts in our subjects, but what happens when you come on an online, you do not want one person to be lecturing or talking on and on and on for a very long time. Do as much as research as possible, make your content as interesting as possible for the kids. We're going to look at some ways that you can do that in the session today, and make sure you prepare really well. So in a classroom, what happens is you just know what topic you have to teach, and because of all the experience that you've had over the years, it's easy for you to just take a chalk piece and start writing on the board and start explaining it to the kids. But in an online space, usually it's not something that's very easily possible. You need to have some multimedia, something that can engage the kids, something that can draw the attention of the kids towards what you are saying, right? So prepare well, not only with the topic that you're teaching, have a solid plan in hand with you. Think of different resources or materials that you would want the kids to use during the class. If there is something like that, make sure that you ask the kids to be prepared with that as well, so that it is they learn by doing whatever they're doing, right? Take and give a lot of breaks. This is again something that's very important, because also considering that kids who love to stay in front of the screen playing video games, browsing on the net for very long periods of time, coming back and telling we don't get enough breaks or that is too much screen time for us, it is a red flag for us, which means that our body needs some physical movement every once in a while. So what we're going to do during this session is also that every half an hour, every 40 minutes, we're just going to take a quick break, move around, stretch a little bit, and see how we can make ourselves comfortable. All right. So take and give a lot of breaks, encourage collaborative work. Again, kids in classrooms, in physical classrooms, they tend to go to their friends, the people that they're more comfortable with. Also, I'm sure you would be giving a lot of group work to them when they are in classrooms. Let's try and get that into our virtual classrooms as well. So encourage collaborative work. We're going to look at some techniques that you can use to build these group learning skills within the kids also. Finally, use a lot of resources. There are a lot of millions of online resources, lesson plans, materials, multimedia, things like that that are available, which can make your classes more engaging and also make them more interesting, interactive, and enhance their learning experience in a lot of ways. So make sure you use all these resources that are available to make sure your classes are a hit for the kids also, right? In my previous session, I'd actually mentioned how you need to be an edutainer, which is an educator as well as an entertainer for your kids. So make sure that happens. Keep that in mind whenever you're designing a lesson for your children. Yeah, so we did talk about asynchronous learning in the beginning of this session. What is it basically is what we are having right now is something called synchronous learning, where I'm talking to you and you're listening to me. It's basically what a lecture is, and it is happening in real time, right? So asynchronous learning is basically where the course material or whatever the kids have to learn is available for them at any point of time that they need it, right? And they can access this material, ask a lot of questions to the teacher, practice these skills over a period of time. And again, it depends on when they're comfortable. This is one way in which we can space out those screen time that we were talking about. We can send out the materials to the kids in advance, set a deadline as to when they want to complete it. And at their own convenience, they go through the material, they work on their assignments, and they send back those assignments to you for review, right? So how does this benefit? One is that there is self-paced learning that is happening. It enables, so we're talking about, we will talk about how asynchronous learning also helps in building the collaboration among the kids. So it helps helps them to collaborate, and it also helps in multidisciplinary work or learning, right? So when you're designing your assignments for asynchronous learning, you can collaborate with other teachers, other subject teachers also. For example, you can create an assignment which has some aspects of science, some aspects of math, some aspects of social, all of them put together in one single assignment, right? So this is something that can be done by using asynchronous learning. And what are the different kinds of tools, or what are the different kinds of ways that you can do to help asynchronous learning? One is by recording videos. You can record your videos, your lectures, your presentations on the screen while you're showing the presentation to them. There are various platforms which are available where you can record your screen and record yourself on the audio as well. One of them is called Move Note. One is called Movely, and there is a platform called Loom, which we use at Walnut very extensively, where you can have a screen that you're sharing, which can be your slide, your presentation, and you as the teacher can keep moving around along the slides and help the kids understand describe what is happening during the lesson to them live, right? So this can be a recording that you can share with them on a Google Classroom folder, or any place where they can just have a Google Drive where you can have subject specific material available for them. Demonstrations, again, these are some things that you can use not only for science, but for various other subjects. There are a lot of online videos available on how you can demonstrate certain aspects, certain subjects, certain topics. For science, you can have a lot of science experiments that you do. For social, you can just have a video about a particular place. For example, you're talking about geography. You can talk about the history of a particular person, have videos that are related to that person. uploaded onto your Google Drive for the kids to access. You can also enable classroom discussions. Yes, we will be sharing the names of all these apps. I will be sharing a separate PDF file with you by tomorrow, where I will be mentioning all the apps, all the links that I've been talking about during this session, right? Yeah, I will be sharing all these details with you. So yeah, you can enable classroom discussions. So on Google Classroom, I know that there is a space where you can enable chat. Even on Zoom, actually, you can have the kids put in different breakout rooms, assign teams to them, give them a certain assignment and ask them to separately give some time for them to work on that assignment in their own rooms, in their own breakout rooms. So that is something that can be possible. Assign group projects to the kids. Again, share material through these videos, demonstrations, any other course material that you want to share with them, and assign group projects to them so that they get a collaborative experience there also. And create learning activities. Again, I will be sharing all these activities from where you can get them, how you can create your own activities using very simple animation techniques in Google Slides or in PowerPoint. These are some details that I will be sharing. There are a few tutorials that are available, a few links where you can access all these. Right. So yeah, this is basically asynchronous learning where you really don't have to have the kids in front facing you, facing the screen all the time while you are doing a lesson. Have these small videos. Again, make sure that these videos of lessons that you're doing are not very long, they need to be very small, which is around 5 to 10 minutes in duration. And then you have a follow-up assignment that you share with them for working on the same thing, right? So yeah. So here is answering a few queries that you had, that most of you had during our earlier webinar. How do you teach language on online, right? So one very interesting way to do this is, I'm sure most of you do it in class also, use flashcards for younger grades, even for older grades. I think using flashcards and designing activities around these flashcards is something that really helps. There are several language keyboards that are available online. Some of them I've mentioned here is Gate2Home and Quillpad. Basically what they help you do is you can get your you can share your screen, which can be a simple whiteboard that you're sharing with them. And once you open this keyboard and select the language that you want, it has many, Gate2Home has a lot of Indian languages already available. So that keyboard for that particular language opens up and you can type in, and you can give your assignments also to your kids by using these different keyboards that are available in the language that you want to talk to them about. Apart from that, there are different worksheets available online, mainly for teaching English. One of them is starfall.com, which is basically available for the primary and pre-primary grades. This is a request that we got last time, where there were specific inputs that people wanted on how to teach primary and pre-primary kids. So do use starfall.com. It has amazing activities. It has amazing, very minute detailing on how kids, there is a special section on phonics, there is a special section on stories. So it's a very interactive way of learning for the kids as well. So do try out starfall.com for English. And there is a website called grammarmonster.com, again, with a lot of activities, with a lot of worksheets on improving kids' grammar. Then there is Duolingo, which is a great platform to learn new languages. So Duolingo has Hindi language in some of its, in the app already. And apart from that, it has a lot of foreign languages that you might want to teach your kids, right? So that's basically how we can teach language to the kids. Flashcards, basically whatever you would do for an English class is something that you could do for your Right. So that was basically about teaching language. I will be sharing all these details with you over mail in a help document again, as I mentioned earlier. Built to learn math and science, right? So this is a very interesting platform called arvindguptatoys.com. I'm not sure if you've heard it earlier, but this is a person, Arvind Gupta is a person who's been working. Can everyone hear me? I think some of you are unable to hear.
We are able to hear you, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, I think most of them on this call can hear me. Ma'am, can you check your speakers, please? I am unmuted and okay. Sure. All right. Yeah. Yeah, so this is Mr. Arvind Gupta that we're talking about, who is okay, all right. So yeah, this is sorry, Arvind Gupta, who has been an IIT, who's learned from IIT, who's very versed. He's an engineer who did really well, but then he thought, why is teaching such a complicated way, right? So you can teach very complex concepts in physics, chemistry, math, bio, everything by using very simple stuff that you have at home. And that's how he started this website called Arvind Gupta Toys, where he creates toys from trash and he explains beautifully about different science and math concepts. Do check out arvindguptatoys.com. These are the different subjects that he teaches using his, there are very few, he uses very basic materials that are available at home. So what you can do is choose any of these topics here, and there are a list of different things. For example, if you choose biology, you will see a list of different concepts in biology that he teaches by developing small models or small experiments out of them, right? One of his very cool experiment is...
I cannot hear you, ma'am. Cannot hear you.
Hello? Ms. Shriparna, can you check your mic, please? Because the speaker, sorry, I think most of them
No, ma'am, cannot hear you.
Okay.
Ma'am, it's clear to all of us actually.
Yeah, it is clear to all of us.
All right, all right. I'll just send her a message. Might be she'll have to log out and come back.
Very clearly we can hear.
All right. So like I was mentioning, all right. Thank you for that. Yeah. So here are a few topics that he's done a few experiments on. One of them I will be showing to you, where he uses very simple things from his house to explain how eddy currents work in science, right? And that really eases out how you try to explain certain complex concepts that too on an online platform. You can actually have your kids bring these materials to class whenever you're planning to do a lesson on that particular topic. Have them build those experiments. These are very short, 5 to 10 minute, easily assemble things that you can easily assemble and get at your home itself. So do try out one of these. I'm going to quickly show one of the things that Mr. Arvind Gupta has done. Here's a video on how he explained eddy currents. This is all that you need to do this.
Make a wooden stand with a height about 1.5 feet and a hook at the top to hang a thread by. Take a strong neodymium magnet and stick it to a washer and attach a long thread to the washer. The magnet does not stick to an aluminum plate. It just falls off. Hang the magnet from the hook and swing it freely. The magnet will oscillate to and fro very freely. Then take an aluminum plate and place it below the magnet. Once again, swing the magnet, and because of the eddy currents, the magnet will come to a very quick halt. It stops very quickly. Now, with no plate, the magnet swings freely. Once you put one aluminum plate, it stops, but slowly. Now you put another aluminum plate which reduces the air gap, and if you swing the magnet now, the magnet stops much faster. The braking is much faster. This braking is because of eddy currents.
So yeah, that's how simple it is. If you do not have a wooden board at home or anything like that, you can still use anything else, anything made out of plastic or anything that you have handy at home. But yeah, these are some really cool experiments that he does, and again, using very little material and a lot of concepts that are clear, that get clear by doing, right? So he also has a lot of things that he does in math. This is a geoboard that he has created for math. Again, he here has used a sheet with nails drilled into it. You do not need to do something that complex. You can just take a simple cardboard and use some board pins to create this geoboard for yourself. And what he has used here is simple rubber bands. If you don't have rubber bands, again, just use a string or a thread that you can find at home. And he's used, you can teach a lot of concepts like he's done here. You can help kids find the area of different geometrical shapes, have them even teach them angles and things like that using these, using this simple geoboard, right? So how to make a geoboard, again, you will find it on his website, or you can also find a lot of other resources on YouTube and other platforms where they are freely available, right? So geoboard is a very easy and easy to use concept that when you're teaching geometry to your kids. Teaching math and the different resources that you can use now. One thing that most of us have a trouble with is for other subjects, you can still lecture the kids, have some videos that you can show them. But with respect to math, it's very important for you to write something on the screen, solve a problem for them and show it to them right there. So what you can do for this is there is an option to annotate or to open a whiteboard on your screens when you're using either MS Teams or Zoom. So once you have the whiteboard on, there are different stylus and tablets that are available in the market where you can sync the tablet with your screen by using a simple USB or a Bluetooth connection. You can sync that tablet with your screen. So whenever you write something on the tablet or whenever you try to solve something on the tablet, it appears on the whiteboard or the screen where you are connected to. Right. So this is a very interesting way where you can teach the kids, show them while you're doing it. And one more thing that you can do using these stylus or tablets is you can use a math textbook. Even for other subjects, basically, you can use the textbooks. You can annotate on the textbooks itself where you can point out at different places and tell them this is what they need to make note of, or just write on the screen itself for them, right? So there are a lot of lessons that are readily available, math lessons, different manipulatives, different tools, different lesson plans that are available on several portals that can be added directly. For example, Khan Academy, BrainPop are some portals where you can open courses which are not, they have Indian subjects, they have CBSE subjects that have been listed. There are a lot of small lessons based on different topics that have been mapped into these portals, and they are free to use. Most of them are free to use. You can just, if you have your kids already on a Google Classroom, on a team already, you can just add these lessons onto your classroom folders, and they can easily access them. There are assignments that are linked to the lessons as well, which will give you an idea of how the kids are performing for each topic, for each this thing, right? Right. So it's called a pen tablet, Ms. Swarnalatha tells. Thanks a lot for sharing that information, ma'am. So I know that there's one company which is Wacom, which sells these bamboo styluses, which are very, very popular. You can try out other ones also. Moving on, so there are very interesting. I think you should surely go and refer to Pinterest. There are multiple ideas. I just went to Pinterest and I spent a good 2 to 3 hours just browsing through the different ways that you can make math interesting for the kids, right? So there are readily available Google slide templates that you can use to create animation slides, worksheets, and assignments for your kids. Do search for these on Pinterest, or you can find these easily downloadable math slides also. I saw something very interesting where you can teach fractions for the kids, where there is a screen, and you can allow the kids, when you share it as an assignment with them, you can allow the kids to fill in those boxes in the fractions, or you can teach them multiplication, division, a lot of concepts using these slides, where they are animated. You can help the kids move around objects from one place to the other. So that kind of gives a nice interactive experience for the kids. Do check out Pinterest for great ideas on how to teach math online. And also do check out ready-made PowerPoint templates, Google slide templates that are available to teach math, right? GeoGebra.com is something that is that has unlimited apps, games, and resources that you can use to teach geometry, or geometry, algebra, and different subjects like that. And I will be sharing these links with you as well. Mathstechteaching.org has, again, a lot of resources available, starting from lesson plans, different games that you can use to teach math, a lot of resource materials specifically for online teaching. Do check out these websites to know a lot more about how you can make math interesting for your kids and how you can make it better on the online platform for them. Mathlicious is another platform which uses real world examples to teach math. For example, one of them talked about how you can order a Domino's pizza, and how the actual price that has been quoted on the menu is not actually what you go ahead and pay them, and why is there a difference, what is this profit, loss, discount, and things like that that they have to offer. So it's a very interactive way of teaching the kids while they can relate with real world experiences also, right? So do check out mathlicious.com for more such interactive real world examples which help kids learn maths better. Teaching social and what are the different resources? This is National Geographic, actually the website that they have has a special section called education, in which it has a great amount of resources that are available, starting from primary, pre-primary grades until 9th to 10th grades is what I saw. They have amazing resources. They have multiple lesson plans where they have small activities for each topic to teach the kids. And they also have several quizzes, several different kinds of assignments also that are linked to each of these lessons, which you can give to your kids, get them to learn about these things, get them to do some of these activities in the classrooms itself. So it's a very interactive way, a lot of lesson plans available, a lot of different methods of teaching that they talk about in National Geographic's education classroom resources, the portal that you find there. One more interesting thing is you can use for teaching geography, you can use Google Maps or Google Earth to give them a real life kind of experience. We know that there is a Google Earth view where you can see the actual landscape of a place, right? So we will be looking at one such thing that we did in our class, which is called a virtual field trip, where we took the kids on a field trip to Chennai, to Mahabalipuram, and we showed them around the place. So this is something that you can try out for your kids for different places that you talk about, even history when you're talking about different places that some of the rules have been, some of the dynasties have been. You can use Google Earth to give them a much more broader perspective of what they're looking at. So that was Google Earth there for us. Let's have a closer look at Arjuna's penance here. Anybody knows what Arjuna's penance is, what we're talking about here? You can type in your answers on the chat. So I was talking about how you can use the resources that are available on National Geographic, and how you can use Google Maps or Google Earth for your classes. We're going to, yes, thank you, Ms. Varnalata. So Arjuna's penance is something that's there in Mahabalipuram in Chennai. So this is Arjuna's penance, and any idea why it is called Arjuna's penance? Not really. Okay, so it is believed that this figure that you will see here, so this is the entire, so this figure that you see here is basically Arjuna. One of the most believed theories is that this picture, this sculpture is basically Arjuna. He is performing a tapas or a penance to receive a boon from Lord Shiva in fighting the Mahabharata war. So before he fought the Mahabharata war, he came to this place and he did his penance, or he did his tapas, and that's how he received this Pasupata, which is the most powerful weapon of Shiva's, right? All right, and one more interpretation is that it is known that this sage Bhagiratha, who after penance to Lord Shiva brought down this river Ganga to earth, and that's how actually Ganga came into the world. That is one more theory which gives this place its name, right? So let's quickly go to Arjuna's penance. I'm going to quickly share this with you. So I'm sharing a link with all of you on the chat box here. Do click on that link and we'll have a quick run through as to what Arjuna's penance actually looks like. Can everybody see this? Can I get a thumbs up if you can see it? All right, thank you. Okay, yeah. So this basically is what you can do for your geography, history lesson. So like you can see, there is Arjuna who's doing a tapas over here. And you can just have the kids move around the place. If you can see, there is actually a copy of this one more cat or cat-like figure which is doing a tapas over here, and everybody is bowing down to the cat. There are elephants. You can talk a little bit about the sculpture that they have here. And if you see on the top here, there is the Ganga, which is Yeah, this basically, this ridge that you see here is basically referred to as the Ganga, which is flowing down onto the earth. And if you see actually how these sculptures have been sculpted also, on the top, you can actually see that there is the devas or the godly figures that are there. Right? And below there are these humans, and at the bottommost, actually, if you see, are the animals which are considered as, yeah, so that is, yeah, these are the animals that you can see. There you see the people. And yeah, you can talk a lot about these things in your classes, give them a live run through as to what these historical places are, get them to find out a lot of interesting things about these places. So that was Arjuna's penance, and this is something that I really urge you all to use during your online classes for teaching geography. It's a great way. A lot of places have, yeah. So yeah, moving ahead. This is how you can encourage group activities or collaboration among the kids also while you're doing the sessions. These are some techniques that you can use. Think, pair, share is something that we usually use in classes. Think, pair, share or triads is something that we use in classes very commonly. So what basically you can do is when you've discussed a certain concept with the kids, give them one small activity that they can quickly do in their own groups. If you're using Zoom, you can go ahead and use the breakout rooms that are available. Put them in groups and ask them to think about what they talked, have a discussion about what they spoke, and share it with the larger group after they are done, right? The same thing that you can do with triads, 3 kids in a group. Then there is snowball, animal names and numbers, fishbowl, rainbowing and rainbowing. These are different methods of group activities that you can give, group work that you can give to the kids. What I will be talking about now will mainly be jigsaw or envoying, which is a great way to actually get kids to share their knowledge with the others, right? So this is basically where you just put kids in certain teams, have them learn about a certain concept. So within the teams also, if you have 5 members in a team, what you basically do is give one part of a certain lesson or one certain topic, a very small topic, for each of these kids to read about and research about, right? So they go and in their teams, they do this research. Then they come back into the main room. Whoever has done the topic 1, for example, you've given 5 topics to each of these kids. Whoever has done topic 1 again gets together in a group. They discuss about what they have learned, and then they share it with their original groups, right? So this is a little bit of a time-taking process, but it makes sure that everybody is learning in a uniform manner. Rainbowing and fishbowl are again other concepts that we, yeah. In Zoom, there is a way that you can create breakout rooms as a host. There is an option called breakout rooms that you will see. If you want, I can send a quick tutorial on how you can do that, creating breakout rooms on Zoom and how you use them. Yeah, this is something that I will be sharing. I'm not sure if it is available on Microsoft Teams, though I can check on that and let you know. Otherwise also, even if you're using a Google Classroom or some other place, you can always have the kids to group separately outside the class. You can use it as a group activity that you give them as an assignment and get them to talk about it later in class also, right? So yeah, all right. So it is available on Teams as well, is what I came to know. Yes, breakout rooms are available on Teams, and you should surely try these out. It's a great way to get kids to collaborate and work in groups. It gives them, collaboration is something that we really love to see in the kids, because there is a lot of knowledge that's being shared. One kid knows and the others get to get that information without too much effort. So yes, do research about all these collaboration activities and how you can use them in your online classes as well. Assignments, how do you give assignments to the kids? Again, use Google Docs or slides to create assignments. So there's something interesting that you can do with assignments with Google Docs basically is you can create an assignment, or you can create a worksheet for the kids on a Google Docs or a slides platform, and you can quickly give them a copy access instead of the edit access that you give the kids. Let me quickly open that for you and show it to you here. Right. So this is a sample that we had created for one of our workshops here. So this is what your kids will see when you share an assignment with them. And they need to make a copy, which means that you can create a Google Drive. You can keep a copy of that assignment, the master copy of the assignment over there, and give copy access while you're sharing it with the students. Just give a copy access to them instead of an edit access. So in the link itself, as you can see here, in the last, whenever you are sharing a document with somebody, here you will find EDIT edit. Instead of that, you just have to change the URL to see, copy, remove the edit option and put copy option there. And this is what will appear to you. Make a copy. So kids can open a copy. Each student will get one copy of the notes that you're sharing with them. And this is one such assignment that we had created for the kids, where we say, give them some notes as to what they should be doing during that session. Then talk about an activity, what is the objective of the activity, what they are learning from that activity is something that they will make note of it. Then you can have some questions that they do, get them to answer those questions and submit those assignments to you. So yeah, these are some things that you can include. This was for one of our coding assignments that we'd asked the kids to share their assignments. So this is something similar that you can do with your classroom assignments also, where they don't really have to write in notebooks. It's easy for you to access as a teacher, give them feedback on how they're doing. And again, you can, here when you're doing these assignments, you can make these interactive Google slides where they can move objects around, where there are different animations that happen while they are learning a certain lesson. You can lock these slides to make sure that they don't make any edits to the questions or the content that is actually there. They can make edit only to the answer slides that are available, right? So these are different things that you can do. Again, there are multiple YouTube videos on how you can create these interactive slides. How do you create assignments on Google Docs? There are templates that are available readily that you can use, just like plug and play. Yeah, then you can create interactive quizzes on portals like Kahoot, Trivia Maker. Jeopardy is a game that has been really loved by kids, and there are different games like Spin the Wheel also that you can use to get the kids to answer questions about a certain topic, get them to choose what topic they want and things like that. There are a lot of fun and interactive PowerPoint games that you can actually use in your classrooms. So I will be sharing a link of one of those blogs that I saw where you can, where there are different PowerPoint game templates that are readily available for you to use. One other thing that you can do while you're giving assignments to your kids is not just let them write or just write and take screenshots and things like that. What you can also do is very differently is get them to record podcasts on any subject that they're learning, right? So give them an assignment about a certain topic in social or science or even language in English or Hindi or any language. Get them to present about that topic, build different activities based on that, where they create podcasts on their learnings, right? So that is a different way where you can get them to do assignments. So let's quickly play a game of Jeopardy. All right, since there are a lot of you, I won't be able to give everybody a chance, but I will randomly pick out names and I'll let you all answer on the chat. But this is something that you should really try out in one of your classes. How does Jeopardy work? Is I'm going to give 100 rupees, a first statement of 100 rupees for whoever is going to participate. Whoever wants to answer will shout out their name and answer. But because we are around 100 people here, I will be telling out the name of the person who has to answer. And while you're answering, it should be in the form of a question. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a statement to you, and your answer, whatever you think that statement relates to, you're going to give that answer in the form of a question. For example, I say this object is also called as the blue planet. And my answer would be, is that Earth you're talking about? So your answer should be in the form of a question, while I'm going to be asking about I'm going to tell a statement to you, right? So hope that's understood. Team that's answered the statement gets to pick another topic or block. Again, this is something that you can use in your classes. If you answer incorrectly, you're going to lose points. So starting off, names that have been mispronounced by, these are the 3 categories that we have. Names that have been mispronounced by Donald Trump. You can play that for 100 rupees or for 200 rupees. Remember that the difficulty level increases as the amount that you claim also increase. So there is a topic on Donald Trump, mispronouncing names. There's a topic on brands and general. I'm going to quickly ask Miss Anne Mary. Can you choose one of the topics and how much would you like to play this for? Ms. Anne Mary?
Yes, I would like to take up names mispronounced by Donald Trump and 200 rupees.
200 rupees. All right. Thank you. So this is your statement. Name this person, this Indian sports person. He was named after his father's favorite musician, S.D. Burman, father of R.D. Burman. So,
are you talking about Sachin Tendulkar?
Very nice. Yes, that's who I'm talking about. Let's see a small video about what this was.
And hello to India. This is such a great honor. This is the country where your people cheer on some of the world's greatest cricket players, from Sachin Tendulkar to Virat Kohli. I believe that the United States should be India's premier defense partner, and that's the way it's working out. Together we will defend our sovereignty, security, and protect a free and open Indo-Pacific region for our children and for many, many generations to come.
Yeah, that was Donald Trump, and that's what he had to say about Sachin Tendulkar there. Let's move ahead. Thanks a lot for that, Anne Mary. Moving on, let's go to Neeta Bhattacharjee. Ma'am, would you like to choose a topic and how much you'd like to play that for?
Yes, I would take brands and I would play for 100 rupees.
Okay, thank you. And brands. So we're talking about Ekins, which are a squad of dedicated fans of this particular American apparel brand's products, events, and innovations. We're talking about an American apparel brand, a dedicated squad of fans, dedicated fans, and they name themselves as Ekins. Your clue is in the word Ekins. Which American brand do you think we're talking about?
Not sure. So if a child is not sure about the answer, how he responds?
He can either pass it to somebody else. He can just say, I don't know about this, and he can pass it to another team, and another team who knows the answer can just shout out their names.
Okay, pass.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to Sonu Rajesh. Would you like to tell what the answer is? Again, I want the answer in the form of a question.
Yeah, are you talking about Nike?
Exactly, right? That's That's what I'm talking about. Nike spelled backwards is actually Ekin that you can see. So yes, we're talking about Nike, which is whose fans are called the Ekins, right? Thank you for that, Ms. Sonu. And moving ahead, let's have Ms. Priya Ramachandran. Would you like to choose the next category and how much you'd like to play that for? Oh, Ms. Priya, are you there? Okay, I see you've unmuted yourself. Ma'am, can you say something? Let's have Ms. Jaya go then. I don't think I can hear Ms. Priya.
Yeah, tell me, ma'am. I am here, Jaya.
Yeah. So, ma'am, can you tell me which brand and for how much do you want to play this?
Okay, I will choose General, ma'am. It's for 200.
Okay, General 200. UNESCO tied up with the creators of this particular video game to recreate its historical sites, which were destroyed by war. A video game that we're talking about, which was used by UNESCO to recreate some historical sites that were destroyed by war. We're talking about a game, a video game that is owned by Windows actually, Microsoft. Any guesses which game I'm talking about? Not really, Miss Swarnalatha, but nice guess. So think about a game which has blocks in it. All right, Miss Suma, Miss.
Is it, are you talking about Lego?
Nice guess, but not really. Something similar to Lego. Miss Suma, I'm passing on the question to Miss Suma now. You want to tell us what you think it is?
No, I don't think I know it. Pass.
Is it Minecraft?
Yes,
Who is that, sorry? Yeah, so it is Minecraft that we're talking about. Yeah, Minecraft is what we're talking about. All right, that was great. Let's quickly have some other people do this. Miss Ambika, do you want to go next? Miss Ambika, are you there? Okay, can't find Miss Ambika. Miss Divya, do you want to go?
Yes, ma'am. I'm there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yes, Miss Ambika. Yeah. Can you choose one category and how much you'd like to play that for?
I would like to play name mispronounced by Donald Trump for 100 rupees.
For 100 rupees. All right. Let's see what that is. So, yeah. He is a role model for the youth and is famous for beginning his famous speech in 1893 with the words, "Sisters and Brothers of America."
Are you talking about Vivekananda? Swami Vivekananda?
Very nice. Yes, that's who I'm talking about. And this is Donald Trump pronounced.
As the great religious teacher Swami Vivekananda once said.
Yeah, so that's how he pronounced Swami Vivekananda's name there. Moving on, great job done, Ms. Ambika.
Thank you.
Let's have, let me see, Sheila Krishnan. Do you want to go next? Ms. Sheila, are you there? Okay, moving on. Can we have Ms. Sarika Muthu do this for us?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. What do you want to play for and for how much?
I'll go for brands, 200 rupees.
Okay, brands for 200 rupees. Here's your statement. This mascot of an Indian brand was inspired by the mascot of Polson. The image of Polson and its mascot girl is here. This is an Indian brand which got an inspiration from this.
Is it Amul?
Very nice. Yes, it is Amul, and we're talking about the Amul girl. The mascot was conceptualized by this marketing mavericks called Sylvester Dapuna. So yes, that was Amul girl for us. Moving on to the last and final question. Ms. Divya, do you want to go? Divya James, do you want to go for the last one here?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, go ahead. This is your statement. This character helped increase the popularity of spinach.
Are you talking about the cartoon character Popeye?
Yes, exactly. I'm talking about Popeye the Sailor Man here. And yeah, this is a statue of Popeye that has been put up in Texas and Crystal City. That's how big a person he is over there. So yes, that's Jeopardy for all of you there. You can actually use Jeopardy in your classes as a recap and a revision activity. It's a fun way for the kids also to remember and recollect all the information that they've learned. So yeah, Jeopardy. There are other games like Taboo that you can play with the kids, and I'm going to list a few more of them that you can use in your classrooms. Spin the wheel is also a very interesting way. I can also share a PowerPoint template that we usually use at work for our sessions for Jeopardy and Spin the Wheel. YouTube links are anyways available. So yeah, check out our Qshala YouTube channel. We have a lot of trivia, a lot of interesting facts that we make really short videos about. Please type in Curiosity Clips, get your subscribe for this channel where they can really learn interesting trivia, interesting facts about certain topics on our YouTube channel here. So yeah, that brings us to this session that we had. Hope it was a little helpful for all of you. I will be sharing all the links, all the portals, all the resources that I spoke about during this session with you in a detailed mail tomorrow. Also saying that there will be certificates that will be awarded for all the participants.